Hello students, in the previous class we have discussed about plant tissues and tissues. They perform a specific function in a cell. They are group of cells performing a specific function. In plants, the main function of tissues is transportation of water and mineral, food particles, and other cells are concerned, other tissues are concerned with the supportive function to xylem and phloem, or supportive to the plant for to withstand or to maintain turgidity and for trapping solar light for photosynthesis. So the basic concern in the complexity of plants is less as compared to the animals. So the type of tissues are also the simple tissues, complex tissues are xylem and phloem only. In this, the complexity of animal is much more than the plants, and they perform various functions, different functions. They are based on their functions. There are different types of tissues involved in the function. So let's start with the animal tissues. Animal tissues are of four types: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. And epithelial tissue, based on their function and their location. These tissue, the names are given based on their function and location. So epithelial, epi is for outer. The epithelial tissue forms the outer covering of an area, outer covering of the body, or outer covering of an organ, or outer covering of a vessel or a capillary, or the lining of an system. So that lining or covering is by epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is again of four types, which is squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium, and stratified. So columnar epithelium is again having two different specialized cells: ciliated columnar and glandular columnar. So let's start with the squamous first. Squamous cells are thin flat cells. Thin flat cells. They are uninucleated. Uninucleated. Squamous cells are basically concerned with the covering. The function of epithelial tissue is protection and secretion. So the function, protection, secretion. The protective function is by the squamous cells, and where they are present. In this chapter you have, or especially in the animal tissues, you have to mention the function and location of each and every tissue. The question may be asked about where it is located, what is the proper location. Location means you can't write that it is present in the body, it is present in liver. No. Specialized area, specialized function of that particular tissue. So in this squamous epithelium, where they are located in squamous epithelium are located in the outer covering as skin, then the coverings of blood vessels or lymph vessels. Outer covering, protective covering, protection from germs, protection from mechanical injuries, protection from entry of foreign substances. All these are inhibited by the squamous epithelial cells, thin flat cells. Then next is the cuboidal cells. Cuboidal cells are cuboidal shaped cells which is concerned with the secretion process. They are present in the kidney tubule, glandular ducts like salivary gland, or tear gland. So they are present in the areas where the role is secretion of chemical substances. Next to this is the columnar cells. Columnar cells are of two types: ciliated and glandular. Ciliated cells, cilia is a protoplasmic projection. Protoplasmic Protoplasmic protection. Do write these terms. So, what is cilia? Cilia is a protoplasmic projection. And the lashing movement of cilia helps in the movement of particles, or especially in the respiratory passage. Respiratory passage, if the in this cilium or in the respiratory passage in the intestinal regions, these movements help in the movement of materials or particles or substances. So cilia, cytoplasmic projections. Next is cilia. Ciliated epithelium is present in the lining of respiratory tract. Lining of respiratory tract. Next is glandular epithelium. Glandular epithelium. Glandular regions are in the stomach region, where the cells, special cells are present, which perform the role of secretion to digest food. In the intestinal region also digestion process continues. So digestive secretions or digestive glands which help in digestion of food are present, are termed as glandular epithelial tissue, and they are present in the stomach, lining of stomach and intestine. Then next is the stratified epithelium. Last one of the epithelial tissue, stratified epithelium. Stratified epithelium is the epithelial tissue which is having various layers. For layers we use the term strata. Stratified tissue, where they are located. Stratified tissues are present in the cornea of eye and skin. Various layers of cells to make a tissue which is stratified. Various strata, various layers of cells to form a stratified epithelial tissue which is in skin and cornea of eye. Next, come to the connective tissue. Connective tissue, it is the main role of connective tissue is connecting to organs, connecting to systems, connecting bones to bones, connecting muscles to bone. So all these connections, all these while connecting, they are performing various functions also. In spite of connection, they are for giving protection, they are for storing fat, they are for insulation, all these terms. Areolar, let's start with the CT proper, which is the connective tissue proper. Connective tissue proper is having three different types of tissue. Areolar tissue. Areolar tissue is the most widespread or the most common tissue which is found all over the body. Areolar tissue is basically present beneath the epidermis of the skin. Under the skin, the layer is the areolar tissue beneath epidermis of skin. Most widespread, and the role is to give support. Then adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is for storing fat. Store fat, where they store. Storage of fat is they act like a padding for or cushion like in the areas near the eyeball, near the kidney, or under the skin. Under the skin, these fats act as an insulator or help to retain the body heat. So this store fat under skin, near eyeball, kidney, near kidney. Why? The function is insulation to retain body heat. To retain body heat. Next is the fibrous connective tissue. Fibrous connective tissue, when the tissues are in the long tube-like structures, or not tube-like structures, they are in longer cells packed together by the areolar tissue. Fibrous tissue, longer tissues packed together by areolar tissue, long areolar tissue packed together by the fibrous to form bundles, and these bundles are termed as ligaments and tendons. Tendons and ligaments. Here I am writing the TMB, LBB. What are these terms? These are the code words or code terms for T, tendons, muscle to bone, connection between muscle to bone, ligaments, bone to bone. Next to this is supportive connective tissue. Supportive connective tissue, cartilage. Cartilages are non-porous with thicker or dense intercellular space. Next, what is intercellular space or the substance? The substance present between the two adjacent cells. The liquid substance, the fluid substance present between two adjacent cells, that is the intercellular substance. So intercellular substance is dense, nerve fibers are absent, blood vessels are absent. All these are absent in cartilage, present in bone. Function: cartilages are non-porous, soft tissues. They are present in the nose tips, then external ear, in the cartilage, in the respiratory tract, around the trachea. They are present as C-shaped rings. C-shaped rings on the trachea region. So that is the cartilage, C-shaped cartilaginous rings present on the trachea. In the bronchioles, then bone are the porous substance, porous tissue, which is having less denser and less intercellular substance, but inorganic salts are present. The living cells are termed as osteoblasts. Osteoblast. I'm rubbing this part. Bone cells, osteoblast. Next to this is fluid connective tissue. Fluid connective tissue is blood and lymph. Blood and lymph. Question could be asked. Name of fluid connective tissue. Fluid connective tissue, blood or lymph. Blood contains three elements, cellular elements: RBC, which is the red blood corpuscle; WBC, white blood corpuscle; and platelets. While lymph is formed by the oozing out of the substances from a blood vessels. It contains WBC, other substances, but RBC absent. In lymph it is absent, so it is colorless or pale yellow in color. So this one, the role of blood is to carry oxygen, transportation of oxygen to all parts of the body, and lymph is for lymph contains WBC, so the basic function of the lymph is to provide immunity to fight against foreign agents and germs. Next to this is, next one, I am rubbing this all these. Next is muscular tissue. Muscular tissue is of three types: striated, unstriated, and cardiac. Striated means striped appearance, band-like appearance. It is having light and dark bands, longer cells with light and dark bands, and striated cells are they are voluntary cells. Voluntary means they are in our control. when they are in our control, like the muscle of hands or arms, muscle of legs, muscle of facial muscles, these are in our control. When I am speaking, the facial expressions, the facial movements are in my control. So that these are the voluntary muscles. Voluntary muscles are striated in appearance, they are in light and dark appearances, voluntary. Then unstriated. Unstriated muscles are present in the regions which are in involuntary or involuntary, which is not in our control, and the regions are where the contraction process occurs, like in the esophagus. In the esophagus lining, esophagus, uterus, urinary bladder, intestine, all these areas, or in the iris. Iris is the central black portion of the eye, and the contraction and contraction movement of the iris is to adjust the entry of light in our eye, to focus or to see clearly in dim light, or to avoid strong light, sunlight. So this adjustment by iris is by unstriated muscles. We are not doing this, it is not in our control, so it is involuntary. Involuntary. Cardiac muscles contain the striated muscles, but they are involuntary. Cardiac muscles are involuntary and branched. Cardiac muscles, cardiac word is for heart. So all the muscles which are present in heart, which is present in heart to support the pumping process, they are involuntary, voluntary and branched. This is all about the muscular tissue. Last is the nervous tissue. Nervous tissue you have studied in the junior classes also. Nervous tissues are composed of or made up of neurons, and the structure of neuron. I hope you remember the structure, which is like this. Somehow this type of structure, where this one is the nucleus, around the nucleus, and here branch structures are present. These are the dendrons or dendrites. This is the cyton or perikaryon. Peri means outside, karyon. Karyon is the nucleus. So outside nucleus, perikaryon is the cyton. This one cyton. This is nucleus. This is dendron or dendrite. This one is axon and axon terminals. Axon terminals. Dendron receive the impulses, receive the stimulus from another cell, transmit it to the cyton. Cyton then transmit through the axon to the axon terminal to the next nerve cells or the neuron. The neuron cells are the longest cells. Longest cells basically performing the transmission of electrical or nervous impulses. Next few terms which is the analogy with the words river. River is used with or is an analogous term with, river is for blood vessels. Blood vessels, as they are basically the role is for transportation, so they are analogous term with the river. Ship is for RBC, because they play a role of carrying oxygen, carrier of oxygen, so they are analogous to ship. Drainage system is with urinary bladder, urinary system, as they function to remove the harmful substances through urine. Then thrifty housekeeper. Thrifty means which is not wasting, using money wisely, or using something wisely. So thrifty housekeeper is the term for liver. Liver secretes bile juice, which is necessary for the digestion of fat, and these fat droplets and these bile juice are stored in the gallbladder. So the use is very intelligent use, or you can say they are using it wisely. That's why the word is for thrifty housekeeper. Agricultural farms leaves as they produce food. Then canals for the capillaries, as they function as the transportation of the substance of the fluid. Anti-terrorist squad, WBC, they fight against germs. Aquaguards, kidney, they purify blood. So purification is by kidney. So kidneys are analogous to aquaguards. Last is landlines. Landlines means transmission of impulses, transmission of messages. It is done by nervous tissues or neurons. This is all about animal tissue or the plant tissue we have discussed earlier. In the next class, we'll discuss about pollination and fertilization process. Thank you for today's session.